See those apartments over there? That's about the lowest cost living that exists within Queens, New York. Those apartments right there, give or take, not exactly, just approximately. They are townhouses, they're walk-ups, and they are in a part of Queens that has no access to subways, and the buses are slow moving over here. Now, why is that significant? Because in the people who have those apartments where you're walking up flights of steps with packages and whatnot just to get home, they are paying approximately $15,000 to $20,000 a year less than someone who has the most luxurious apartment in the same neighborhood in a brand new high-rise condominium. Now, $15,000 to $20,000 a year sounds like, oh my God, so much money, but it's not. And I will explain why. In fact, that's going to be the theme of today's video. We are going to talk about how you can spend money to make a lot more money. Actually, though, it's more about improving the productivity by throwing money to fix your problems. I'll explain right now. If ever you've heard the story about sharpening the saw, it's a story about someone who was trying to chop down a tree, but he was using a saw that was dull and it needed to be sharpened. But because he was so busy trying to get the tree to get chopped down with this sawing back and forth. I'm using an axe motion when I'm saying saw. But sawing the tree and he's trying to, the dang thing ain't gonna even make a dent in the tree because it is a dull saw. He needs to stop and sharpen the saw, and his time will be used better, and the time he spends sharpening that saw will come back to him. He will make that money back, that time back, excuse me. And time is indeed money. If you are an entrepreneur, here's the lesson. If you are an entrepreneur, your time should be worth enough money that it's worth it to you to throw money at the problem. Now, not everyone has that, and I'll explain how to fix that if that's the case. Basically, it is easier to spend money and earn it than it is to save money and use time instead. If you are an entrepreneur, usually that is the case. If it's not, then you have to figure out ways to make it that way, and I'll explain how. So let's say you're having a business that only pays you so much per day, okay? You only get so much money per day, no matter how hard you work. In that situation, you may not be able to actually earn more for your time than you could save. That's not a situation you want to be in. If you are in that situation, try to start new businesses in your spare time, which you better have. Otherwise, it's a pretty challenging equation. Start new businesses, and with those new businesses, you set up an arrangement where you are earning enough money per every hour you invest into it, meaning time you're spent selling new items, trying to connect with new clients, all that stuff. The payback for your time has to be worth it. That it's no longer worthwhile for you to waste your time online shopping at the discount store where there's a 1-hour line to check out, instead of paying a little more to go to a normal priced store where the lines are short. Okay, that's just one random example. Now back to the apartment that I said in the beginning of this video. $20,000 a year is approximately the difference between living in the least expensive option and the most posh option within Queens, New York, where rents are extraordinarily high. So for the roughly same size apartment, you'd pay approximately $1,500 a month more for the good one over the cheap one. Now, why is that $1,500 a month so significant? That sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people, but it's not really when you calculate how much time you spend living in the chunky one. You have a walk-up, first of all. You're climbing the stairs all the time with objects. When you have movers to move in and to move out, they're gonna charge you more for that walk-up. Number one, so right off the bat you lose. Number two, you're parking your car on the street and you're spending your time looking for parking every day. In a fancy apartment, there's usually parking in the building and you just have your own parking spot. Number three, when you get a package in the mail, where are they leaving that package for you? If you are in those walk-up apartments, there's no doorman. We are going to having to go to the post office every time you want to mail a package, and when you receive a package, sometimes it ends up back at the post office. I don't know why they do that. So maybe it's a New York thing. It's terrible, but that's the way it is. You have a building, you have a doorman. They take your packages as they arrive, and if you have an outbound package, as long as it's got prepaid shipping, you leave it with the doorman, and they when the UPS guy or FedEx guy comes, they'll take it from you. You save time with that. Most modern apartments have a dishwasher in. Stop wasting time washing dishes. Most modern apartments that are on the high end of the scale will also have a washer and dryer in the apartment. Laundry. Don't waste your time doing laundry when you could pay a little bit better living. Now, mind you, there's also the emotional factors here. Living somewhere nice makes you feel good, and then it pumps you up to make more money. You want to make more money in this world, okay? You want to be inspired to do that. You can't do that if you're miserable. This new world situation with the lockdown brought all that to light. I live, thank God, somewhere nice because I take this this advice I give to heart. If I lived in a dump, I would have been in a terrible mental situation because you're stuck indoors for months on end. This is the way it works. You invest in a good living situation because it saves you time, and time should be worth more than the money you spend. If it's not, then you have to fix that first in order to, sorry, there's a guy making an illegal U-turn in front of me. If that's not your situation, you have to fix that first. Do not go and take this advice as an excuse to be living beyond your means. That's not what I'm suggesting. Don't go blowing money on $1 million mansion because I said so. That's not a good use. But do not keep wasting your time. Figure out ways that you are pulling in enough income. Diversify what you do if you're not already pulling in enough income. And then stop spending time on things that you can throw money at the problem to fix. Now, other things is sometimes objects get beyond their practical use, even if they're still useful. I used to own a Cadillac. Okay, that car, man, oh, I love driving that car for the 5 minutes that it worked. It was constantly problems in that car. Now, here's the problem with this arrangement. I bought that car when it was almost new. It had 20,000 miles or something, which is like 30,000 kilometers, and it was like 2 years old or something, straight off of someone else's lease. I paid 50% of the original value, which is great when you're figuring it's a practically new car that was in mint condition. The problem was I got tied up with the depreciation. Cadillacs depreciate like a rock sinking down the water, okay? The money was lost so quickly in depreciation that I didn't want to give up the car because I couldn't recover the funds back. Therefore, I held on to it longer than I should have because it was such a money pit of repairs, that car, that I love driving it, by the way. So there was that aspect, but it was such a money pit of repairs, I ended up spending more time going back and forth to get it repaired than the value that the car had. Meaning, had I just accepted the loss, okay, 50% of what was the new price is what I paid, and it dropped to near zero, believe it or not. That was one heck of a depreciation. Even if I would have just accepted that financial loss and said, you know what, I'm gonna just take the loss, but I'm not gonna spend my time going back and forth to repair this thing. It's a lost cause. It really was a lemon, that car. So that's one of the aspects, okay? You have to know when to throw in the towel and when to accept financial loss because your time is being eaten up. That's another aspect. Now, the last part of this equation is stop wasting your time. Really, there's so many things people do that are just utter wastes of time that don't give you pleasure. I'm not talking about things that are pleasurable, like human interactions one to another, that, you know, you spend time walking a long walk on the beach with your loved one. I'm not talking about that at all. That's great. God bless you. Enjoy life. I'm talking about the things that are an utter waste of time. Number one, people who watch hours of television or movies or play hours of video games all day long. If your source of income is involved with video game, you're a video game developer, you sell a product for video game players, such as like an add-on, all that's fine. If that's your career, that's fine. If it's not, if you don't make money from it, in some cases some people pay a lot of money for the add-ons, stop doing it. It's an utter waste of time. When I see people on the subway and they're playing with their telephones like this and they're playing some video game, I think to myself, my God, they could spend that half an hour or 1 hour commute each day doing something productive. You can read a book that is something that is going to open your mind and teach you something. If it's a self-help book, you can learn a language through recordings and stuff like this. You can literally learn a language during your commute. You have so much free time, you're not doing anything else. Now, obviously, some people need the time to unwind. Unwinding is fine. Find something you enjoy doing that's productive. Don't waste your time away. Okay, another thing, and this is probably a more controversial one, but most drugs bring a person down and they reduce productivity in one way or another, either just by lack of motivation, which a lot of them cause, or by actually sedating a person to the point where they can't operate. Don't do drugs. Alcohol, same story. If it's abused, if someone drinks enough alcohol that they're getting the next morning they're having trouble waking up because they got a hangover, again, you're wasting your time. That time you don't get back. Time is the most valuable resource. The most wealthiest people in the world cannot spend money to get back their time, but they can spend money to save a little bit of time. Okay, with the time that's passed, nobody in this world, whether it be Bill Gates or any other billionaire, they cannot pay to get their time back. Don't waste the time that you're given on this planet doing things that you don't need to do. The idea here is, the more you can figure out the financial value of your time, the more you can justify spending to save that time. It's an interesting equation when you break over the point where the money you make per hour of effort is greater than the money you save per hour of running around to catch that sale somewhere. I have known people who have tried to save money by being cheap with heating and air conditioning, and they get these like fans and these floor heaters and stuff like this instead of a proper heating and air conditioning system. Then they are miserable all the time when they're at home and the temperatures reach an extreme in either direction. They're either freezing cold or boiling hot, and that kills their productivity, potentially impacts their health, although that's questionable. But they are just not happy over just the lack of an air conditioning and a heating system that's proper. How much do these things cost? Depends on the size of your apartment or house, of course. But it's not going to be more than $1,000 to $2,000 in the most extreme case if you have a big house, in which case you're not worried about the cost of your heating and air conditioning. Most people's normal size homes, it's in the hundreds, it's not even thousands of dollars. To get a proper air conditioning and a proper heating, I mean, don't be cheap like that. I mean, that's really, to sit there with fans and floor heaters and then you're shivering and you're boiling and you can't operate that way. You can't be productive. Cheap pays double. Don't do that. You want to avoid things that are going to slow you down in life. That's the goal, at least the goal of being hyper productive, okay? Another one is like eating too much. When you overeat, you end up exhausted. Most people. I don't know about everyone's digestive systems, but I certainly do. If I overeat, that's it. I need a nap. That's it. I'm done. You want to stay in shape. That's another thing, you know? Being strong helps you have more stamina and stay awake all day long. If you go to the gym, you end up with more energy from the time you spend. So if you spend half an hour at the gym each day, you end up being able to be productive for more than that hour extra per day. So that's like the game. And as I mentioned before, if you live in one of these fancy condominium apartment buildings, most of them today, most of the modern ones have a gym right in the building, and usually they're not even extra money. They're free. They're included in your rent. So you save money on your gym, on going to the gym, just by living in one of these joints. Now, staying healthy is another aspect, but it's also a matter of not getting sick, because when a person gets sick, then it kills the productivity. You have to take a time out just to recover, or if you work through it, then you're miserable when you do it. So the goal is not to get sick. Obviously, every human being gets sick sometimes, but you want to minimize that by taking all the precautions within your human power to make sure that doesn't happen, that you rarely get sick because you're eating healthy, you're staying fit, you're not doing the things that make people sick in this world, which there are a lot of things. You want to kind of keep yourself as healthy as possible to maximize the productivity in your life. Now, obviously, some people are born with health conditions. That's a different problem. That's unfortunately your challenge in this world, and there's not much you could do beyond whatever it is that you do to take care of it. But for the majority of the world that's born roughly approximately healthy, you got to stay in shape and you got to eat the right. Also, food that goes past its expiration date and you're not sure if it's good anymore, throw the damn thing out. Do not save money by eating old food. God, Lord. I've seen a lot of people do that. You know, the food gets old and you're kind of like, it's still good. No, if it makes you sick, it's not good. Okay, fine. If it's just a date on the thing and the food's fine, it's different. But if you're not sure, throw it out. You are not a human garbage can. Sorry, honking at people in New York. You are not a human garbage can, okay? If the food is questionable, I missed the light because the guy, look at that, every other car went. Oh, you can't see it on the screen. Anyway, every car went except me. Anyhow, you're not a human garbage can, so make sure you throw out food that's old. It's important. It's really important to keep your health. Don't do stupid stuff. Live somewhere that supports your motivation and drive to succeed and makes you feel like you really want to make more money in this world, and that it encourages you, and find ways to actually make money. Because if you don't do that, then you got only half the equation. Do not go blow the money first. First make the money while you're running yourself to the bone time-wise, then start implementing these actions to increase the efficiency of your time, moving somewhere that's worth that saves you time or whatnot. All right, now this is all fine and dandy. Please God, don't just listen to me and do the same things you're doing, okay? I'm hoping that I'm gonna influence you to make a change for the better. Please do it, and you will increase the productivity in your life. You'll feel better, you'll enjoy life more, which is another characteristic. You're living somewhere nice, you enjoy life, you know, things could be good. You're not taking public transit, you got a vehicle if you need one, if you're living somewhere that needs a vehicle. If you're living in a big city, then you're near a subway or a bus, not living in the boondocks where you have to take an hour just to go anywhere. This is it, man. Live life to the fullest, because you only got one life to live. If you like this video, if you don't like this video, either way, share it, please. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Peace out.
Yeah!